2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East and this is the Smart 7.
Good morning, it's Monday the 26th of September and it's Lumberjack Day. And a big happy birthday to Serena Williams, Brian Ferry, Anne Robinson and Tracy Thorpe. Kwasi Kwarteng's mini-budget announcement on Friday included scrapping the top-rate tier of income tax for the highest earners, but his plan's already been heavily criticised for helping the rich. Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham says it splurges billions on the wealthiest while people's heads are slipping below the water.
Friday's budget was a flagrant act of vandalism on the social cohesion of this country.
Sir Keir Starmer then announced he'd reintroduce a top threshold for income tax if his party wins the next election, meaning people would pay 45p on anything they make above £150,000. But the Chancellor denied his gambling with the economy after the pound plummeted to a 37-year low. Speaking to Laura Kusenberg, Kwarteng insisted his policies are necessary and favour people right across the income scale.
What I'm focused on is tax cuts across the board, and that's why we brought forward the 1p cut in the basic rate.
Over in Liverpool, the Labour Party conference kicked off with a tribute to the late Queen and the singing of the national anthem. The mini-budget has been, unsurprisingly, the big talking point. But the annual event's been somewhat overshadowed by the Al Jazeera Labour files, an investigation behind the scenes of the anti-Semitism crisis that engulfed the party under Jeremy Corbyn. Anti-racism campaigner Andrew Feinstein features in part 2 of the documentary, revealing how anti-Corbyn campaigners secretly probed a member's social posts.
One has to understand that this was a social media crisis, that it involved people trawling through extraordinary numbers of social media accounts to find examples that could be interpreted as anti-Semitism.
Back to the conference, though, and the Deputy Leader Angela Rayner, who's been hoping to exploit the differences in the Conservative and Labour economic policies. She claims the Tories are lining the pockets of oil and gas executives and enriching bankers while families are starving.
Being no doubt conference, they're coming after the most basic things that we expect. Decent work, fair pay, the foundations of a family life. Conference, so long as I have breath in my body, I will defend those rights, and including the right to strike. Appearing at a packed-out Fringe meeting, Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the RMT Union, said the rail industry was in crisis and a number of train operators were close to collapse. He urged Starmer to give more backing to workers in industrial disputes, and speaking to Sophie Ridge on Sky, he called the tightening of strike laws an attack on human rights.
And they want to regulate the relationship between the union and its members. That's not acceptable. People will always regret further oppression of trade union rights.
Fierce protests have broken out in Russia against Vladimir Putin's plan to mobilise hundreds of thousands of reservists to support its military campaign. Independent monitoring group OVD Info has now said more than 2,000 people have been detained across the country for demonstrating. It comes as a referendum continues in 4 occupied areas of Ukraine on whether people there want to stay under Russian control, with local reports of Russian-backed officials going door-to-door with ballots and refusing to let citizens leave. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the new Russian troops to surrender.
The world will react absolutely justly to the pseudo-referendums. They will be definitely condemned, and for the criminal mobilisation that the occupiers are currently trying to carry out in Crimea and other parts of Ukraine which they still control.
Italians headed to the polls on Sunday and the country expected to elect its most radical far-right Prime Minister since the end of World War II. Exit polls gave Giorgia Meloni, who leads the Brothers of Italy party, a clear majority of 41 to 45% against 25 to 29.5% for the left-wing bloc. This means Meloni could become the country's first female head of government ever. Italy correspondent for The Times Tom Kingston says fed-up voters are looking for a new face and like the sound of her stance on things like tax cuts and closed borders.
She's promising to be the kind of leader that Italians feel they haven't had for about 10 years. And that's basically a directly elected leader, because over the last 10 years, Italian governments have been the result of last-minute compromises, backroom talks, or just technocrats coming in like Mario Draghi.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Roger Federer bows out and Rihanna's to play the Super Bowl half-time show, right after this. Welcome back.
It was a big weekend of sport. In Nations League action, Scotland beat Ireland 2-0, Italy beat England 1-0 and Wales took on Poland on Sunday night with a final score of 1-0 to Poland, meaning certain relegation for the Welsh. But apart from football, the weekend saw one of tennis's greatest players bow out. Roger Federer finished off his professional career at the Laver Cup event in London, which included him and Rafa Nadal playing doubles together in a genuinely emotional moment. Roger was clearly moved by the event, but kept a brave face right to the end.
We'll get through this somehow, will we? Right? Look, it's been a wonderful day. I told the guys I'm happy. I'm not sad.
We don't know much about American football, but we do know we love the NFL Super Bowl halftime show, and this year's set to be an absolute cracker with Rihanna in the headline slot. Rihanna had previously turned the gig down over the NFL's stance on police protests back in 2019, but must have had a change of heart as she posted an iconic photo of her tattooed hand holding an American football on Twitter on Sunday night. It's going to be her first time performing in 5 years, and it's also the first time that Apple Music have sponsored the event, and last year's performer Dr. Dre went on Apple Radio on Sunday night to big her up.
I don't know if I've ever been that nervous before. Wow. Not only that, I don't know if I've ever looked more forward to a Monday morning. It's an extreme amount of pressure, but it's fun at the same time. And when it's done, it's like goosebumps, bro. And she has the opportunity to really blow us away.
We've been given a first look at the new Netflix mystery miniseries The Watcher, based on the true story of a married couple who, after moving into their dream home in New Jersey, are harassed through ominous letters signed by a stalker named, you guessed it, The Watcher. American Horror Story duo Ian Brennan and Ryan Murphy created this one, with the cast including Naomi Watts, Bobby Cannavale and Jennifer Coolidge, aka Stifler's mom. And the teaser trailer has certainly got us spooked.
Allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. Do you know the history of the house? I've been put in charge of watching you.
This message will not be the last. I am the Watcher.
This has been The Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft